With the release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, we now have 7 MCU Phase 4 films. So today I thought it was time for me to stop and rank all 7 MCU Phase 4 films, ranked from the worst to the best. Please note that everything that I will say in this video is just my very own opinion. My name is SW Nation, and you are free to comment down below your ranking of all 7 MCU Phase 4 films ranked from the worst to the best, just like me, or you could just do your favorite. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter, that's going to pop up on your screen right now, and also that Black Panther Wakanda Forever review. That link is in the description, along with that Marvel playlist. With that being said, guys, I know this ranking is a little bit late, but I wanted to give everybody enough time to see Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, since it's the #1 movie 2 weeks in a row, without further ado, let's get right into our ranking. Kicking off my list at number 7 for me has got to go to Thor: Love and Thunder. To be honest, I don't like this movie for many reasons. Sure, it's fun. Sure, it's a lighthearted romantic comedy with some scenes of sincerity, with Jane's cancer being treated as a serious theme of the plot. But as far as the rest of the film goes, this movie has all of what we liked about Ragnarok, like the irreverent humor and the wackiness of it all, the space odyssey of it all, but also doubled down on what didn't work. The tonal issues, the over-reliance on humor. The humor sucks in this film. It's dialed up to 100, whereas in Ragnarok it was only dialed up to 90. And while he has some influence on the villain, Thor is a parody of himself. Like I said, the tonal issues are so strange here because we have a scene of Thor riding Stormbreaker as the Wicked Witch of the West, but then we'll also have a scene where Gore is terrifying kids with headless beings. It's so weird and so wild, and I can admit, the stuff with Jane and Thor, better than any other Thor movie. Jane was the best in this movie than she was in any other Thor movie. They treat Jane's cancer seriously. As far as the rest of the movie goes, everything else is a joke. At number 6 for me is Eternals. I really like this movie. I know a lot of people don't really like this movie. I know a lot of people hate this movie. It's the worst rated MCU film on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't believe it deserved that score. The ambitious scope this film takes with introducing a story about the deconstruction of heroes is amazing to me. I think Chloe Zhao did her thing with this movie. When I walked out of this movie, I was like, I don't understand the hate. This movie was great. I really like that. Spanning centuries, this film is huge and large and definitely the most gorgeous looking movie inside of the MCU. It's mature and adult because you're dealing with actual adult characters with the dilemma. Should we let the Celestial be born and create new galaxies, or stop the birth of the Celestial and let human life live? It's a very interesting dilemma that I wish they would have focused on a little bit more here. And because of its 10 main characters, it has a hard time juggling multiple storylines and these characters in a satisfying way. And even though they are a family, they feel less of a family by the end of the movie. Kicking off my top 5 list for me has got to go to Black Widow. As a point of reference, number 7 and 6, those are movies that I didn't like to really like. These are now movies that I really love. A spy thriller featuring a dead character that should have came out 6 years ago. It's kind of weird that instead of moving forward in the beginning of Phase 4, we got a prequel featuring a character we saw die 2 movies ago. Nevertheless, did I like the movie? No. I loved it. At the time, this was the first MCU film in theaters that I saw since Far From Home. Natasha's layered past is brought to the forefront here, and I thought it was a pretty okay thing. The opening montage of this film, actually the whole opening of this movie, is fantastic to me. I love the opening, and I think the overall movie feels like a Phase 3 film. It's kind of awkward at the fact that it's inside of Phase 4, but it feels like a Phase 3 film, and that's what I really like about it. The action was fun and visceral, the spy thriller aspects was fully realized, and the introduction of Yelena did not disappoint. A very funny character. I think all of the side characters here, Red Guardian, Melina, Yelena, all of them were great here. The only things that weren't really great here, the Red Room, Taskmaster was wasted, and Dreykov as a villain wasn't the best. But I'd be lying if I didn't say the first MCU film after the year hiatus that COVID caused wasn't a solid spy thriller that I still love watching today. Number 4 for me has got to go to Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings. I grew up on Ninjago, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Samurai, and Super Samurai. So when I find out about an MCU martial arts film, I instantly get excited. It's really cool seeing the MCU become so diverse enough to give us an all-Asian cast martial arts film with awesome choreographed hand-to-hand fights, but also dramatic emotion within the villain, who doesn't see himself as a villain. In fact, I think Wenwu is one of the top 10 best MCU villains because he doesn't see himself as a villain. He just wants his family again. He just wants to be happy again. And just the overall emotional, dramatic father and son dynamic that he has with Shang-Chi, I thought it worked. It's funny, the action is amazing, it has dragons, and by the end of the movie, you will be saying that Shang-Chi is your new favorite Avenger. This movie is not all the way positive. Of course, the third act, we've gotten so used to the hand-to-hand combat by this time. When they go full fantasy with dragons and soul eaters, it's like, what are we doing? Whereas you gotten used to the practical hand-to-hand stunt. And it felt like this and Eternals had the same problem, whereas every time they were doing something different, it was always like they had to go right back to the MCU formula, thus making it number 4. But still a movie I love. Kicking off my top 3 list for me has got to go to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. When I first saw this movie, I didn't love it that very much. I actually liked it though, but now I do. I love this movie, man. I bought the Steelbook, and when I rewatched it on the Steelbook, I was like, wow, I think I love this. I actually really like this. And Sam Raimi just brings a fresh, fluid project to the MCU that delivers on all the Raimi-isms that you want. The gory action is satisfying. When I see Black Bolt's head explode and blood just splatter all over the place, when I see a Cyclops eye gets poked out of their head, it makes you go, ugh, like it makes you cringe, but it's good. And I'm actually glad that they got to go that gory. The weird horror falls right along the lines of Doctor Strange, and this is something that was really missing from the first film. Whereas the first film had more sorcery, which I wish they would have added inside of this film, I think that this film over-exceeded my expectations on how weird and wacky everything could get. And I think the only person that could deliver that to the big screen was Sam Raimi. Scott Derrickson, he did a great job with the first film, because the first film, in my opinion, is better than this one, because that movie delivered on the mysticism. This movie delivered on the wacky and weird side of Doctor Strange. And also the question that this film asks is, heroes, are you happy? It's still a fascinating one to me that I think about to this day. Wanda as the villain, I love. She's one of the best MCU villains out here because it was a natural build-up from her first appearance. The multiverse aspects of this film is in the mixed category for me because of the fact that we get multiverse. This whole film is multiverse. But you show us Crayon World, you show us Cartoon World, you show us Paint World, and instead of getting one of those universes, we get a universe where you go on red and you stop on green and the pizza there is balls. Frankly, you can see why a lot of people would be a little bit underwhelmed by the title Indie Multiverse of Madness when you really didn't get that much multiversal madness. But as this movie being my highly anticipated Phase 4 film, it's still very fun to me. My runner-up at number 2 for me has got to go to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the newest and the final MCU film in Phase 4. What more do I have to say about Ryan Coogler's sequel? I did a spoiler review on the regular podcast. You guys can check out that link inside the description, but also it's going to pop up on the card up above. Wakanda Forever is a triumph on every single level. The story feels cohesive, as if one singular creative was over it. And it continues the themes of the first film about Wakanda opening up to the rest of the world, and it just serves as a true follow-up to that first film. Now, due to the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, they were dealt such a bad hand, and you feel the presence of both T'Challa and Chadwick in this film. Letitia Wright being brought into the lead role was something that she probably never signed up for. And she crushed it. And since we as the audience know that the actors are grieving during the production of this film, they are able to convey that emotion in which they carry weight and substance, but also that rich theme of how a country can move forward with the death of their king. I loved all of that. The Black Panther films continue to be the most dramatic, the most mature, the most thematically rich films inside of the MCU, just from that plot point alone. I also got to touch on Namor awesome, incredible villain. Not better than Killmonger in my opinion. If you want to hear my more elaborate thoughts on Namor, you guys can go check out that spoiler review out there on the regular podcast. I wish we would have seen more of Wakanda. They marketed this film as, we're going to see more Wakanda. There's a whole nother world of Wakanda that we haven't explored. This film didn't really focus on most of Wakanda aspects, but I gotta say, this film is a dramatic, emotional roller coaster that feels like a true follow-up to the first film, with stakes, with actual drama and actual comedy. This movie made me laugh a couple times, but I gotta say, the only reason why it's at number 2 is because I'm not keen on visiting a funeral frequently. But coming in at my number 1, obviously, has got to go to Spider-Man No Way Home, a film that is just a love letter to Spider-Man fans. While the first act is a little bit forced and kind of dumb, the second and third act is some of the best MCU stuff and some of the best Spider-Man stuff we've ever gotten. The brutality of Green Goblin, the tragedy of Aunt May, and the triumphant return of Tobey and Andrew, all of it works to bring us a Spider-Man film that you could truly call a crowd pleaser. I love the fact that this movie has a bittersweet ending. It still makes me cry. It's an emotional roller coaster in and of itself, but also the fact that it serves as an origin story to this version of Peter Parker. While it closes the door on this trilogy about Peter Parker, Spider-Boy or Iron Boy, it opens the door for Spider-Man. It's the Spider-Man movie that I've wanted to see inside of the MCU for years. And definitely it's my favorite theatrical experience to date. Spider-Man No Way Home is just a triumph on every single level, just like Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And while as Wakanda Forever may be the better made movie, I had a better experience watching No Way Home. This is why Spider-Man No Way Home has to come in at number 1. Alright guys, that is it for the ranking. Please know that everything that I did say in this video was just my real opinion. My list was certainly not the right list. It was just my list, and you're free to comment down below your very own ranking of all 7 MCU Phase 4 films, ranked from the worst to the best, just like me, or you could just do your favorite. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter that's going to pop up on your screen right now, and also that Marvel playlist. That link is in the description, along with that Black Panther Wakanda Forever review, and the spoiler review as well is on the regular podcast. That link is always in the description as well. Come back later for more Marvel ranking. Go over there to the regular podcast for more Marvel rankings, for more in-depth analysis on Marvel Phase 4. That being said, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Peace.